configured as optional. So TypeScript uses question mark as a null reference character which specifies that the property can be ignored. The property or method can be ignored. TypeScript uses question mark as null reference character which specifies that the property or method can be ignored. That means optional rules in a contract. That means here optional rules can be ignored. How we can define the optional rules? Optional rules, nothing but, suppose in the contract, I am writing here in the contract quantity, and quantity is a number type, Quantity is a number type. Okay. Now here you can see it is showing an error in TV because it says that quantity is missing. Then I will put quantity with a question mark. Then you see no problem here. That means now it is optional. It's not mandatory to implement it. Now you may ask a question like, why you said that contract means it contains rules for designing. Why a contract will contain optional member? Because everything is mandatory according to the contract. And why a contract can contain optional member? That is because when you are designing a project, you know that every project, every component, so we have a objective and we have a goal. Can any one of you tell what is difference between objective and goal? What is difference between objective and goal? A project, the components in a project can contain an objective and goal. Can anyone of you know the difference between an objective and goal? Any difference? No? Okay. The requirement and exact. Okay. Objective. Okay, fine. Okay, good. So you attempted but the actual concept is objective is always meant for achieving. So that means achievable is always meant for achievable, and it is mandatory to do so. That means objective is always meant for achievable. That means it should be achieved. It should achieve. Every project have an objective that should be achieved. Goal may or may not be achievable. Goal may or may not be achievable. That means the point is, even you don't achieve that, it doesn't matter for my project. But objective is one thing which should be achieved. For example, IRCTC, railway reservations. In that, ticket booking is objective, means mandatory. It should work because that is the primary objective of that project. And showing the train live tracking is its goal. that means it is optional. If they achieve live tracking perfectly and show to the clients, that's great, good. If it is not working also, client is not worried about that. That doesn't matter. That means that is not the primary point. Primary point is ticket booking. If ticket booking and availability of trains is not working, then you missed the objective itself. And showing the live tracking of train, that is a goal. That means, okay, that makes your application great. But it's not mandatory. If it is not working, I don't care. It will work. My project objective is working. That means objectives are always achievable, must be achieved, and they have time bound within the time. Goals don't have any time bound, may or may not be achievable. If you achieve, that's great. If not, we don't care. We don't worry about that much, right? That means they are not worried about that. So if live tracking is not working, then IRCTC people will not complain NIC, because NIC built it. They will not complain that live tracking, why it is not working. Why? Because they know that it requires satellite communication. Sometimes it will have issue. In that case, that is not a primary objective for that project. Then they can ignore that. That means for designing every contract, sometimes the contracts can have goals which are not mandatory. You can ignore them. If you define it, that's great. If you define it, that's great, right? If not defining, then ignore, then no problem. So that is not an issue for that. So that is what important point is. So that's the reason our contracts, by default, everything is objective. You can make it as a goal by using this question mark. That is what actually null reference character is. And this is how we can define the contract. And this is how we define the contract. And we can use question mark. That means here quantity is defined with question mark. That means it is optional. It's not mandatory to implement that. That is how we have to configure and define the contracts. So, and there are so many other points about the contracts that we will discuss in our next session. Hope you understood this. We will continue with this in our next session. And tomorrow we will continue with these points. And a lot of points are there to understand about the interfaces and contracts. Now you will detailedly understand about all the concepts. And these are very important for our Angular. So in Angular, again, I will not explain them. We will directly implement and use them. That's the reason I will take time in explaining all these in detail. Hope you understood this, right? Okay, thank you. Then tomorrow we'll continue with this. Yes, Srinu Raja, do you have any doubt? You can ping me. You can unmute yourself and talk if you have any doubt. Objective is always achievable and it is mandatory to achieve. Goal is not always achievable, it is optional. Objective will have certain rules, mandatory, means it is time bound also. Goal doesn't have any time bound. Objective is always time bound. Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. Let's meet tomorrow.